This is sad, man. It's happening. It's finally happening. The Montreal Canadiens are going to trade Brendan Gallagher. And it comes to us from an update via Rick Dhaliwal yesterday evening. Take a look at this. Dhaliwal, of course, is a Vancouver beat reporter. And so this news coming out 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it wasn't really a Montreal scoop. But Rick Dhaliwal tweeted this out, that Brendan Gallagher's agent, Gary Johansson, has permission from Montreal to help facilitate a trade. It's sad. I don't know, man. I'm thinking about Brendan Gallagher as a hockey player, as a Montreal Canadien, and reminiscing on all the good times, reminiscing on the moments, the goals, the attitude that he brought to the ice. There was so much to love out of Brendan Gallagher, and it feels kind of uncomfortable seeing how quickly everything slipped away. That's not to discredit the fact that Gallagher himself declined in play by a pretty decent margin over the past 12 months or so. Gallagher today, and even Gallagher in the playoffs, I know he scored the goal and everything, but Gallagher for Montreal in 2025-2026 was a very noticeable step down from Gallagher in prior years. We all acknowledge that he got 30 goals before. We all acknowledge he was part of a very dominant line when the Canadiens went to the finals in 2021, and that's not a line that you're going to see a lot of point production out of, but it was just straight up a line that Montreal used to suffocate every other top line in that series. Desnoyers, Gallagher, Tatar, these guys were the cream of the crop when it came to being that shut-down line. And Gallagher ultimately is a guy that will go down in Canadiens' 2000s, 2010s history as one of the more beloved Habs. So seeing this update now from Vancouver beat reporters especially that his agent has permission to help facilitate the trade, it's the beginning of the end here, folks. Come on down to Vancouver, why don't ya, Brendan Gallagher. Now, of course, that's the big angle that everybody seems to be talking about when it comes to Brendan Gallagher as a member of the Montreal Canadiens and as a member of potentially any other NHL team. He's got the Canucks as a potential destination here. He said himself that Vancouver would be a pretty great place to play. And now, guess what? It's no coincidence that Rick Dhaliwal is a Vancouver guy reporting on this Montreal player. Gary Johansson has probably the easiest job in the world over here, because we now know that Vancouver is a destination Gallagher would be okay with. We also understand that from the Canucks' perspective, Ryan Johnson, the new GM, wants to weaponize Vancouver's available cap space, and if that involves a trade which would see the Canucks acquire Brendan Gallagher and maybe a second-round pick, that fits the bill pretty well, I would say. Let's go out there and read some of the replies on this Twitter thread over here. Zeev for Captain, so obviously a Canucks fan, says, I like Gallagher as a player, but if he comes to Vancouver, we'll end up with 3 5'8" forwards. Unless we get a second-round pick back from Montreal, why should we take on a $6.5 million cap hit and make this team small again like last year's? And there are a number of replies that are like, bro, it does not matter. Like, Vancouver's not a contending team. What's the point of judging the quality of the team with elements like, oh, they're too small, they're this, they're that? It's like, nah, it doesn't matter if they're whatever. They're a bad team. That's what the Canucks are, a bad team. So Brendan Gallagher, what he brings to the Vancouver Canucks other than potentially a draft pick is a genuine body that provides staple leadership and a guy that can be a Vancouver Canuck veteran, somebody that allows those younger dudes to progress and grow their NHL careers in a way that we may not have been able to see if he wasn't there. You can always have more leadership, especially if you are a younger team. Another reply from Dominic Sodine says, bring Gally home. And linked underneath is a picture of Gallagher jersey swapped with his bloody Montreal Canadiens Stanley Cup Finals run face. He's wearing number 11 in this image, which is not necessarily right for Vancouver. Yeah, there's a lot of history with that number, and some certain individuals who did not respect that history. I don't see Gallagher coming over to Vancouver and taking number 11, but still. You also had yourselves another reply that was a little bit passive on whether or not this is actually going to mean anything. John Puck said, hey, Brendan Gallagher's agent is getting involved trying to facilitate a trade, right? Just like Dan Milstein had permission to facilitate a trade for Evander Kane, but nobody wanted him. Well, that's the thing, though. Evander Kane isn't a washed... Okay, he's kind of washed. He's really washed, actually. He's just not good. But it all depends on the intent, right? Evander Kane getting moved at the trade deadline earlier this year would have been with the idea in mind that he would go to a contending team that would be willing to use his services to help them contend. A Colorado, a Dallas, any one of these teams, an LA Kings team that was a playoff team that could go in there and say that they see value in Evander Kane and his skill set. Ultimately, none of these teams actually saw enough of it to get him on board. This Brendan Gallagher thing is entirely different because it's like, yeah, no, Vancouver wouldn't be trading for Gallagher because they think that he'll make the team better. Like, Brendan Gallagher, at 34 years old, is not improving any Vancouver Canucks squad. He's not going to be the difference between 32nd in the league and 25th. He's not going to have that much of an impact when it comes to his legitimate on-ice contributions. So Gallagher is just going to be a leadership presence. He'll be a locker room guy, a mentor. I think those are all things that he would take in pride, especially if it's in Vancouver. I mean, he played for the Giants, he hangs out here in the off-season sometimes. There's a lot of love for Gallagher and this area of Canada. So it just seems like a pretty big fit, whether or not Gallagher finds himself in Vancouver. Let's take a look at this other element to the entire situation that was brought up by Yves Fredette. He posted this earlier yesterday that the Brendan Gallagher situation could potentially see something similar to what Patrick Marleau dealt with Toronto and Carolina a few years ago. To create cap space, the Maple Leafs shipped Marleau and his $6.25 million salary, plus a first-round pick, to the Carolina Hurricanes. Will the Montreal Canadiens do the same? Well, if they have to, they're in luck, because they can offer the 24th overall pick. Whereas the rank of the Maple Leafs was not known at the time of the trade and ended up being the 13th overall pick in the 2020 draft, which turned out to be Seth Jarvis. Good luck to both of the teams with your future trade, Habs and Canucks. Now, I will say there is some nuance there. When Patrick Marleau was traded from Toronto, it was a flat cap environment, and there were a lot of teams very desperate for cap space, so I don't think it's a comparable environment. I don't think it's a comparable situation. The contracts may be similar if you break it down by the actual numerical value, but contextually speaking, there's a lot more under the surface that makes these two situations not the same. Although if the Vancouver Canucks got a first-round pick, something in the 24th overall range from the Montreal Canadiens to take on Gallagher, I'd say that's a pretty good deal. Don't you? The Canucks would be able to get themselves the Ruck twins in the 20s with that Minnesota first as well. It makes perfect sense, and in fact, I would love to see that. It's just, Montreal's not attaching a first-round pick of theirs to get rid of Brendan Gallagher. That's just not how it's going to go down. With that said, though, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Brendan Gallagher's agent is now helping out facilitate the trade. This seems to be a pretty big update in regards to the actual situation. Whether or not it manifests in a real move or not, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But for now, thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.